Hi folks, we're Tasseless today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a number of sort of propaganda documentaries or supposed documentaries that I've seen, and they're on the internet, and they're pushing the idea that the only people who can be racist in the world are white people, and only black, particularly black, and to a lesser extent brown people are the victims of these racism. Anti-white racism is the biggest racism sort of really in the world today, as far as I can tell, at least, or certainly in the Western world. And I just want to sort of touch on that. Why do the globalists hate white people so much? And the white people that the globalists are conscripting to run or administer the globalist project. They don't actually hate white people. That's not the issue. They hate the people who are most likely to oppose the globalist project. That's what they hate. And that the most likely group of people who can organize and put together some sort of resistance or questioning or holding the people to account, the racial group that expects independent courts, they expect free and fair elections, they expect accountable government, all this sort of thing. They're white people who expect that. And that's what the globalists want to take away from all of us. And therefore, white people are the biggest threat to the globalist project. So they attack white people as a group because that's where the majority of those who will question and oppose the globalist project come from. Also, white middle class and working classes are going through an astonishing transfer of wealth away from white people to every million sort of new arrivals in a white country substantially reduces the standard of living of the white people that are there. So, and you can sort of plot this arithmetically on a chart or in a graphic format. As people come in, it dilutes the total wealth of the nation at a faster rate than new wealth is created. And because there's a heavy dependence now on creating monopolies, oligopolies, and wealth transfers to corporations, wage reduction, those sorts of things, heavy increase in prices that suit the globalist cabal, but screw the local people or the citizenry. If you look at all those things, you can plot it mathematically. That's why the purchasing power of the paycheck has fallen from 1970 to today by more than 2/3. That's effectively a wealth transfer that's occurred there, and that's the cause of this. And that wealth transfer is also a part of that is the mass migration coming in. That again, wealth is diluted at a faster rate than new wealth is created. So we're all poorer as a consequence. People who come from the dirt poor mud hut in the middle of fucking nowhere, they're better off. But everyone else is worse off. And the people who are worse off are primarily white, which is why the globalists carry on about Nazis and white supremacy and far right and everything. It's really code speak for people who will oppose the globalization project or who are the biggest losers from the globalization project. So, but coming now to these documentaries, I looked for images of anti-whiteism or anti-white racism on the internet. I couldn't find any. I mean, if they do exist, someone can maybe tell me. I couldn't find any. Every form of racism that I found was white people only doing it to non-white people. That was it. There's no other sort of dialogue that's happening in that area, and the globalists and their propaganda flunkies completely control it. Now, if it were true, then or accurate or reliable, then that would be one thing. But it's not. It's all invented. This idea of white people as uniquely racist and only racist. That's such nonsense. I mean, it's a lie. It's just an outrageous, bright, shining lie. But the pushback against it is quite minimal. In fact, if you try and push back against it or question it or point out the errors in these documentaries, the first thing you'll get is someone will accuse you of being a Nazi or something like that. So it's very difficult even to have a conversation without getting called names. So I'll just go on to a few here. One was a documentary about the judicial system in Europe in a very sort of leftist type jurisdiction, but they gush over how many women are now judges and senior lawyers and this sort of thing, prosecutors, and they pretty much only concentrate on the women. There's a large number of black and brown women they fawn and gush over, who are supposedly what used to be a all-white country, are now holding these positions. And the reason they're being given these positions is because they have some unique moral superiority over white people. So the moral superiority comes from the victim Olympics points you get. So there's a judge that is trans, for a man, but is trans, or has become a woman. I think, I don't know how to explain that fully, but that person is considered to be, wow, there's just a wow factor about it, because they understand justice somehow more so than other people do. Should they administer the law? Yeah, I guess, if it kind of suits the scenario. But what they should do really is administer ideological social justice. And that somehow is a big step forward, because it means that, black drug dealers don't go to prison as often, or something like that. I think it's quite vague, but they presented all the non-white and all the females and the lesbians, even the gay white guys, as being morally superior, somehow better able to understand justice and to administer it. Very little talk of the law, and the law itself is codified by white men. If even one white man is involved in the codifying of the law, then the law is somehow unjust because there was a white guy involved in it somewhere, straight white guy. So only when non-white guys are framing the laws, administering the laws, prosecuting, and so on and so forth, only then. They seem to have an unusual amount of cases they hear from white men who are rapists. Now, if you look at the figures from that jurisdiction, white men make up a tiny proportion of the rapists, yet they focus exclusively on white men as rapists, straight white men. The straight white men judges are depicted in an unflattering light. They sort of, and I saw a police drama about this. Well, I'll come back to it in a minute. That sort of does this as well, suggesting this is a bit of a thing in Europe. They try and present the black and the white people as being almost exactly equal. So but they do it in the sense of both of them have equal shortcomings. That's the presentation. Both black and white people and brown people and whatever have equal. So the shortcomings and the foibles and the bad things, if you like, they're equally distributed. Everyone's equally bad. But if you have victim points, if you're gay, lesbian, brown, black, trans, whatever, if you have that, then you have redeeming features. You have redeeming capacities because of your understanding of victimhood, which means you can understand justice better. The straight white guys, however, they're bad but have no redeeming features. So that's that was one there that was interesting. The next one I saw was talking about how I think it was 12 cases where, and this is over 70 years or something, of where black people were allegedly killed by gangs of white people. Now, just a quick check online shows that there was this idea was a gang of white racist, Nazi, fascist, that's bullshit. They're using the Jussie Smollett type of way of storytelling here. One or two of those could have been a mob, but I don't think so. But in one case, it was a mob, but it was mistaken identity. So they got the wrong. Not that that's excusable, by the way. I mean, insulting people and murdering people is against the law. Should be no matter what color someone is or isn't. It's against the fucking law. Murder is wrong. Let's get that clear. But going either way, incidentally. So they try and paint it as gangs of white Nazis rampaging the length and breadth of the country. But given the population of the country, and given that they could only dig up 12 in 70 years, and 10 of the 12 they misrepresented, quite substantially misrepresented, as pretending or making out it was a hate crime, when it's nothing of the sort. I mean, you could gin it up if you really sort of crank the handle hard. You could gin it up as something like that, but that's that's not the reality. Here's one example where the black guy has robbed a business and at knife point, and there's a few people nearby, and they sort of form this kind of, I don't know, citizens posse. White people form a citizen posse, and they go after the black guy. They find him. Then he waves the knife around. There's a struggle, and he dies. The black guy dies. A few of the white guys get cut up, but they don't die, and the injuries aren't life threatening. And that's ginned up as a gang of white racist Nazis killing a black guy for absolutely no reason. That's simply not true. There's another one where the black guy had a gun, has a shootout with police. The policeman gets injured. That guy runs off. Some citizens pursue, and there's a violent struggle, and the black guy later dies from his injuries. Now you could say, well, did the posse that chased him get carried away? And they should have simply conducted a citizen's arrest and then conveyed him to the nearest police station or into the custody of the nearest police officer. But they didn't. But is that white supremacist Nazis and fascists? No, it's not. A crime is being committed, and these guys, went after the perpetrator. Was it racism? I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, in this documentary, they gin it up as so. So it's the way they portray it is that there's no black person that can walk around the block without getting murdered 10 times over within seconds. So it's an absurd proposition, but they're putting forward, there's the voices in shadows, and there's shots of skinheads and all sorts of 1930s Central Europe symbolism and this sort of thing. So but over the same time frame, there were thousands or hundreds rather of white people murdered by black people. Why isn't there a documentary about that? Or why don't they say that? If they were saying, well, here's 12 instances here where, but over that same time, hundreds of white people were murdered by black people. Why don't they? So, that would give it some perspective, but they don't. They present, a tightly choreographed, dramatically ginned up presentation that is not even accurate. It's bullshit, but it's presented as propaganda, and that sort of stuff goes around the schools, and school kids the teachers are choosing this to show to you, look, that's how bad racism are. Look at all those white Nazis there. That's not true. It's simply not true. And if the white people that kill the black people are Nazis, why aren't the black people that kill white people also Nazis? So you can write that off as complete nonsense. Now there's been just looking at a few others. One was that really all the big inventions of the world, technological inventions, have all been invented by black people and then stolen by white people. And again, this is a documentary that does the rounds of the schools. Now, if things are as bad as the racism thing is as bad as they say, that they wouldn't need to invent it. They wouldn't need to tell lies. They wouldn't need to make things up. They could just say, well, here's the facts. This is how bad it is. But they don't. In fact, they do the reverse of the factual presentation. If they were to tell the facts, for example, black people killing each other, drug lord shootouts in big cities like Baltimore and Chicago and the US, and so the many hundreds of black people hundreds of black people every week that shoot each other, and we don't hear about that. Why isn't that an issue? Surely lives, the lives of somebody matter. No matter who kills them or why they get killed, it's still a life, and surely that should matter, but it doesn't, or certainly not to these documentary makers. But let's have a look at the documentary makers. Now, there are vast sums of money available if you want to produce a documentary that hates on white people. No problem getting money, no problem getting it signed off, and they will provide you with a list of here we've got plenty of script writers, and we've got a whole team ready for you, straight out of the bag here, and they're all committed, guaranteed white haters, and they know how to spin a narrative hating on white people, and so employ them, and we'll provide the money, and off you go, and do your propaganda. This is so when you go through the list of people in any of these things, Gentiles are certainly not in, not very numerous. Non-Gentiles, on the other hand, are remarkably numerous. Non-Gentiles who are gay or lesbian are remarkably numerous, and other minorities. But you'd be hard pushed to find a single straight white male among these people. Now, why is that? If the issue was as bad as they claim, then everybody should be concerned about it. There shouldn't be any citizen, concerned, civically involved citizen who would not be concerned. It would be a big issue, and rightly so. But it's not an issue. They've invented it. They've created it. They're telling lie after lie after lie, and they have a lot of money and a lot of people who are happily prepared to tell lies. Now, I've managed to come across a few people who are part of this crowd, and they crowd who want to hate on white people, but they see it from a wide miasma of ideology, that white people have. This is ideologically, they assume this. White people have ideological power. White countries are the richest countries. White people have social power. White people who invented capitalism, and so all the systems of oppression, again, this is their ideological take on all their systems of oppression, are created by white people. All the victims of this are non-white people. This is the simple-minded sort of. So all the things that are bad in the world are created by white people. So we have to tell a few lies, invent a few things, gin a few things up, exaggerate statistics, then that's okay. We're allowed to do that because we're fighting back against this miasma of whitey oppression. So, hey, what's the problem if we tell a few lies and invent a few untruths and so on? Because it's all in some good ideological cause. This you see also, and I was talking to a lawyer that handles rape cases, and she's pleasant enough to me, but she's certainly a part of the ideological goon squad. Every man's a rapist and all this crap. And she took the view that they should vigorously go after anyone any man who's straight white male in particular. She's not that concerned about non-white males. It's more the straight white males she wants, because they're the oppressors. They're at the apex of the oppressor scale in her ideological cognizance. So we were talking about, and I was standing there, and it was a pleasant enough exchange, I suppose. But she was saying that even if the evidence is absolutely minimal that the man did anything, that the white man did anything, it should still go to court, and they should still attempt to get a conviction, and using reversing the burden of proof, trying to stymie his evidence, and getting false testimony from supposed experts, these type of things. She thinks that's all fine because, sure, some innocent men will go to prison for rape, but if 10 innocent men go to prison, but if they get one guy to prison, one straight one to prison, then it's all worth it. The 10 innocent men must be sacrificed on the altar of ideologically cleansing society. And she thought that was fine. I said, let me just understand this, that an innocent man would go to prison, and you're quite okay with it. Well, white men are guilty anyway. So if the guy didn't directly do the rape, he's part of the system and part of the structure, as she sees it, part of the structure that allows rape to happen and condones rape. Therefore, he's still indirectly guilty, and therefore should go to prison, even if he committed no actual crime. You've got to be kidding me. That's insane. What about we do the reverse, that every woman that makes a false accusation for personal reasons goes to prison. Oh no, no. This is one way. We just have to get the straight white males, put them in prison. No one else should be, because the woman is part of the victim. She's a minority. We can't treat her. We can't hold her to a standard. And so on. So this is the type of argument that goes around, and one that you see all over the documentary. And interestingly, she says, this female lawyer, she looks, and we're standing right next to each other, and she looks me sort of square in the face and says, I don't know why you're worried about this. Why would you care if innocent people go to prison? I deal with rapists all day long. That's my job. And I can tell that you're not a rapist and you're not the sort of person who does it. So why should you worry? You're never going to go to prison. And I tried to explain that that's not the point. The point is that innocent people going to prison, that you have these hysterical ideological insanity courts that where all they want to do is send innocent people to prison. That's insane. And she just didn't see it that way. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback Channel. Thank you for listening.